Hello friends, this is Professor Forkner, and I'm back for one last video on the beat analysis assignment. I've gotten a few concerned emails about it, so that's why I wanted to visit it one last time and hopefully clarify it once and for all so that you're not stressing out too much. I'm going to go through the structure spectrum with you. Now, most of you will, and I know because I've taught this class before, most of you will probably use the Thomas terminology as opposed to the McKee terminology. And I honestly, I think that that's kind of great because Thomas is really dealing more with the theater, and McKee is more about screenplay and film, and so it kind of makes sense to veer toward Thomas. But you can go either way, right? It's art. Right. So if you do like the McKee, just know that you're going to have to kind of translate some of the terminology because obviously the two don't use the same terms for everything. So just bear that in mind, okay? If you're still worried about how your paper should be laid out, again, let me tell you to go back to the script analysis book, Thomas's script analysis book, where he uses that American Buffalo example, and use that as your template. If your paper looks kind of like that, you're probably going to be okay. All right. So the structure spectrum, it's a lot like Russian nesting dolls. If you just think of it like that, it's already a little bit easier. We start with the little one, which is the beat, the smallest one. Then we move to the unit. Then we go to the scene. Then we go to the act, and then we go to the whole play. But don't worry, we are only being asked to take on one act of doubt, not both acts. Okay. So don't be too worried. So let's start with beats. The first thing you're asked to do is to clearly identify a beat. Now, remember, a beat is the smallest unit that we can break a scene down in. All right, it's usually about like a little chunk right here, a little bite from a scene, right? You know, the Stanislavski story. If your beat is this big, which is going to be like a line or two, and you're looking at your page and you're just going, that's a sound effect, you like that? You probably have too many beats. If your beat, on the other hand, is like this long, you probably don't have enough. A beat's going to be like a chunk, all right? So I'm going to say somewhere between. It's not a hard and fast rule. But generally a beat, it takes about maybe 6 or so lines for a beat to fully develop. Now, or so can mean sometimes it's fewer, sometimes it's 8 or 10 lines. But just take a look and see, where does the idea begin, develop, and end? We do this in conversation all the time, right? When you list your beat, if you would, you can write the whole beat out, just type the whole thing up. But if you don't want to do that, at least I need you to at least give me the scene number so that I can then go through my script and find it, and give me the first line of the beat and then the ending line of the beat. If you want to include information, your rationale as to why you think the beat ends there and what you think the beat is about, if you want to give the beat a title, if you want to identify who's driving the beat, any of this extra stuff that you want to include in this beat, and talking about it just so that it's clear, that's awesome. Because really, I need to know that you know. So anything you want to include. Now, that doesn't mean please don't write War and Peace, okay? Be reasonable. Get your point across, and then move on, because you don't have too much time before this is due, okay? So any of the extra stuff that you've learned about this week that you want to include, so that you can help me know that you know how this whole beat thing works, okay? From here, you're going to show me your collections. Okay? This is why it's time consuming, but I think you'll find that it's kind of fun. And I'll explain why it's fun, or at least why it's very important for you to do it toward the end here. So then, once you've got your clearly identified beat, and you've shown me that I know what a beat is, now you're going to, so that's our little Russian nesting doll. That's the little one at the very middle, okay? Now we're going to go to the next level up. And the next level up is a unit. A unit is a collection of beats, and the collection of beats tend to be about a particular topic. All right? We may veer off into different directions as we go from beat to beat to beat, but we're really still kind of talking about the same idea. Having taught this class before, I know that many of you will probably be using Act 1, Scene 2, where Aloysius and James are talking about a lot of different things. Now, you'll notice over the course of maybe 1.5 to 2 pages that maybe they'll settle on a particular topic. All right? They'll talk about a particular student, for instance, or they'll talk about, I don't know, ballpoint pens. But you'll notice that as they're talking about this thing, they're kind of weaving in and out of little different mini topics. Those mini topics are the beats. And that big topic, like talking about one particular student or talking about the ballpoint pens, for instance, that's going to be a unit. It's all of those beats are tied to what is the topic here? We're talking about that one student, for instance, right? So that unit, when I'm working with my actors as a director, I will say, hey, let's run this chunk. The technical term is unit, but I'm talking about the chunk of beats that are all related before we move into a new topic, right? This really helps actors understand the flow of a scene. Right. The one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want everything to just become flat. You know, you've seen these plays. The plays that you go to that are boring because because the actors and director aren't doing the beat work, the ups and the downs and the changes of direction that happen. It's not like it's plot twists, but you notice in Doubt, we're talking about one thing for a little while. We finish talking about it, then we move on to the next thing, right? We talk about William London, then we talk about the ballpoint pens, right? Wink. It does. So hopefully now that I've told you that, you should be able to go back and see, oh, okay, yeah, now that I'm looking at, these are all the little beats that go into the checking on William London's bloody nose beat. Right? Or unit, rather. Sorry. Terminology, right? So then you've got a collection. So then you should identify a collection of units, and those units make up the scene. All right? Then identify the scenes, and those scenes make up, that collection of scenes makes up an act. Now, the scenes are easy, because the playwright divides the play up into scenes. All right? So it's all about your collections. This collection of beats here gives me a unit. This collection of units gives me a scene. This collection of scenes gives me an act. Okay? And you're being asked to do that for one act of Doubt. It's a bit time-consuming, but I think that that you'll find that it's very, very helpful to you as a tool moving forward from this class. And here's why. Because what I'd like you to consider doing is I'd like you to... okay, so I've said I need your collection of beats so that I can see what goes into this unit. Right? That's what I'd like. If you notice in the text this week, if you notice in the way that in your study materials, what would be really helpful to you is if you want to title the beats and then title the units and then title the scenes, right? And then title the act. Okay? One of the best ways that you can do this is by identifying so let's start with beats. Let's start with beats before we get too much. Identify who's driving the beat. So identify the driver and then the verb. The driver is trying to do something, or the driver is doing something in this beat. All right? And then you go to the next beat. And who's driving that beat? All right? And what are they doing? Then now we've got beats done. Now we've got a collection of beats that form into a unit. Now we've got our collection of units. Think about the unit. Who's driving? What's the verb? What's happening? all right, and so on and so forth. The reason why this is so helpful, especially if you're a director, is because then you know what is happening from moment to moment, right down to the little beats, right? Now I as a director know exactly what is happening, the flow of this play, from the beats to the units to the scenes to the act, right? So when you have an actor who says, I don't know what I'm doing in this moment, you can say, well, that's great. I'm glad you don't, because I do. Because I've looked at this play and I've identified what you're doing from moment to moment, or who should be driving this scene in this moment, right? So that's what the driver is really about, the beats. But I think you kind of start to see what I'm getting at, okay? That plays are about action. If it's not good directing to give your actors emotion-based direction. So if you say, I think that you should be angrier here. That's not so good. That's emotion. That's not action. And acting is about action. I was in a production of She Loves Me. The director was brilliant, and the actor playing the head waiter. This was the romantic atmosphere number. The head waiter has the underwaiter below him, and he's trying to educate the underwaiter on how to maintain a romantic atmosphere. Well, the head waiter's not a very nice person, and so the actor playing him said, "So should I just be meaner to him?" And the director said, "No, it's not that he's mean. It's that he has to make sure that the underwaiter understands how important this is." And so then all of a sudden, it's not playing a mood, it's playing an action. There's an intention behind it. And then it became brilliant to watch, right? So what this project will do is it will break the script down. You will break the script down, and you will now know as a director and as an actor what you are doing from moment to moment. I hope this is helpful. If you have any final questions, please email me. I want to see you succeed, so I know that this is a tricky assignment that, again, developed by Professor Eric Harrell. So my name is John Forkner. Notice that we're not the same person. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do to help you. But I hope that this gives you, this starts moving you in the right direction. All right? Thanks, everyone.